let's talk about one of the most dreaded corporate rituals out there, the annual performance review. What if I told you it wasn't just broken, but it was actively pushing the best people out the door? Today, we're diving into the story of how some of the world's biggest tech companies completely reinvented performance management from the ground up. So let's just cut to the chase and ask the big question. Is the annual performance review dead? Well, for a growing number of the world's most innovative companies, the answer isn't just yes, it's a resounding yes. And getting rid of it was a huge strategic move. Let's dig into why. Okay, to really wrap your head around the problem, look at this number. Before they changed everything, Adobe figured out that their managers were spending 100,000 hours every single year on performance reviews. That is a mind-boggling amount of time poured into a system that, as it turned out, was actually pushing their best employees to quit. And you know what? Adobe was not alone. This really gets to the core of the issue. For decades, the annual review was just how things were done. But these forward-thinking companies started to realize it wasn't just a pain or a bunch of paperwork, it was a fundamental business failure that was hurting the very people it was supposed to be helping. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? At Microsoft, they had this infamous stack ranking system. It forced managers to grade employees on a curve, literally pitting them against each other. It was so toxic that people inside the company later called it a lost decade of innovation. It just killed teamwork and morale. So what we're seeing here is a massive philosophical shift. The old way was judgmental. The manager is a judge looking in the rearview mirror once a year. The new way? It's all about development. The manager is a coach, having continuous, forward-looking conversations. It's a total 180 on the entire dynamic. So, who were the pioneers here? Well, back in 2012, Adobe made a move that was honestly pretty radical for the time. They didn't just tweak the system. They completely blew it up, got rid of annual reviews and stack ranking altogether. And they bet big on something much more human: conversation. They called their new system the check-in. And the idea behind it was simple, but really powerful. Instead of one giant stressful meeting a year, you have ongoing informal chats about goals, feedback, and growth. It was designed to turn managers from critics into coaches. So, did this big bet actually work? Oh yeah, the results were incredible. After they rolled out the check-in, Adobe saw a 30% drop in voluntary turnover. Think about that. Their best people stopped walking out the door. This was proof that focusing on development wasn't just a nice idea, it was a winning business strategy. Okay, next up, Microsoft. Remember that lost decade we talked about? Well, after that, the company didn't just need a new process. It desperately needed to heal its culture. Their story is all about intentionally fixing the damage that stack ranking had caused. So, under their CEO, Satya Nadella, they finally ditched that old, toxic system. They brought in something new called Connects. This new model is all about continuous dialogue, and it shifts the focus from just your individual rank to your total impact, how your work helps your teammates and moves the whole company forward. And at the heart of this new system is a really cool, simple peer feedback tool. Anyone can ask a coworker for their perspective, and the feedback is framed around two simple but really powerful questions. What should I keep doing? And what should I rethink? It's constructive, it's forward-looking, and it's built to encourage collaboration, not competition. Now for our third pioneer, Google. They tackled this problem from a totally different angle. Instead of starting with feedback, they built their entire system around one of the things they're most famous for: setting incredibly ambitious goals using their OKR framework. See, at Google, goals aren't just a checklist of things you're supposed to do. They're stretch goals, sometimes even called moonshots. And here's the wild part. Hitting just 60 or 70% of one of these huge goals is actually seen as a major success. Why? Because it proves the goal was so ambitious that it forced you to innovate, not just make tiny improvements. In fact, hitting 100% on your goal at Google might actually be a red flag. Seriously, it probably means you didn't aim high enough in the first place. The real magic happens in that 70% zone, because that's where you know you're really pushing the limits. But wait, how do you get people to take those kinds of huge risks without being terrified of failing and missing their bonus? You make one absolutely critical design choice. You completely separate those ambitious goals from their pay. By doing that, you remove the fear of failure and you free everyone up to swing for the fences. So we've looked at Adobe, Microsoft, and Google, all different companies, always slightly different systems. But when you zoom out, you see one powerful, unifying idea that connects all of their success stories. This is it. This is the common thread. The single most important decision all of them made was to deliberately separate conversations about your growth and development from conversations about your salary and bonus. They're different topics, they have different goals, and they need to happen at different times. So why is that one change so incredibly powerful? Well, it all comes down to creating psychological safety. When you take the immediate threat of a financial consequence off the table, people can finally have real, honest conversations. It unlocks genuine coaching, and it builds a true culture of learning and growth. And I think the key thing to take away from all this is that these transformations, they're not some kind of corporate magic that only these giants can perform. It's a result of smart, intentional design. It's a playbook, and any organization can learn from it. Really, it all boils down to the single crystallizing idea. The secret to keeping your best people, sparking collaboration, and driving real innovation is to fundamentally shift your company's mindset. You have to invest in developing your people, not just judging them. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Take a look at the way things work in your own organization. Is your company investing its time and energy in judgment, or is it truly investing in development? The answer to that question might just tell you everything about its future. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.